Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Inventory Remake series. In this video, we'll fix all of the bugs and issues with the item equipping and unequipping and get that working completely. I didn't want to make this video quite as long as the last one, so we'll get to actually holding items in the hotbar probably next episode. As you can see from last time, there's a couple different issues with the hotbar equipping. For one thing, the equip button doesn't update after you equip or unequip an item, but there's also some weird issues if you equip items to the slots further on the right. The first thing we'll do is reselect the item automatically right at the end of the update display function in Inventory Client by calling our select item function from earlier and providing the selected stack ID. This will essentially update the selected item information. We'll also create a variable for the slot frame for the currently selected slot, checking if Inventory Client.selected stack ID isn't nil, and if not, we'll loop through the slots in the player's hotbar and check if that current slot's equipped stack's ID is equal to the currently selected item in the inventory. If it is, we'll set slot F to hotbar slots bracket slot num and we'll break to end the loop. There are actually a few different issues with this, but we'll work through them one at a time. First off, replace Inventory Client.selected stack ID with our find stack data from ID function so we can pass the actual stack data as an argument rather than the stack ID. Now we'll create a new variable called equipData at the top of our reselecting item code, setting it to what we had as our first argument in our call to Inventory Client.selectItem. We'll then replace our first argument in our select item function call with this variable just for organizational purposes. Now, up in our select item function, we'll add an if statement around the updating equip button portion that checks if stack data isn't nil, in case we wanted to fire select item without a stack data to deselect the stack rather than select one. If stack data is nil, then we'll run the setEquip button function with the argument true and set it to equip. Now, in the update display function again in our reselecting item code, I realized at this point that I had the wrong values for looping through the hotbar table, as the hotbar table has numbers for the indices and stack IDs for the values rather than the actual stack data. Make sure to replace that where applicable within this code portion. Now, in select item, just so we don't run the same if statement multiple times unnecessarily, we'll move the updating equip button code into our previous if statement that already checks if stack data isn't nil. We'll do the same for the else portion, moving our code over and removing our previous if statement. Now you can see the equip button does in fact update when you equip and unequip items, but there's still some issues with some of the slots not displaying properly. Back in the reselecting item portion of update display, we'll remove our if statement that checks if selected stack ID isn't nil just to do some testing. We'll also add a print inside the if statement in the for loop that prints the slot number and the slot frame for that slot number just to see if it's finding the slots correctly. We can see that, at first, it doesn't even print our print statement when we equip items to the hotbar. Once we unequip all the items, however, we can see that it prints the correct slot number, but gets nil for the hotbar slot frame for some reason. We'll add another print to print the hotbar slots table just so we can see it and observe why it might not be finding it. But occasionally the code actually does work and finds the slot frame, but other times it doesn't. For now, we'll remove those print statements. Just to simplify how things are set up, we'll completely remove our for loop that finds the hotbar frame and we'll remove it from the select item function call as well. Up in the select item function itself, we'll remove it from the parameters. In update display, we'll change each inventory frame's name to be a string plus the stack's ID, so that way we can find any given stack frame in the inventory based on the stack ID. In the select item function, we'll create a variable called itemF in place of our parameter that we just removed, setting it equal to items sf find first child stack dash stackdata.selected stack ID, which should be the frame for the currently selected item stack, or nil if it's not found. Since this will likely give us an error if stack data is nil, we'll add an if statement that makes sure it's not, replacing the selected stack ID with the stackdata.e and setting item f to nil if stack data is nil. Up at the top of the Inventory Client module, we'll create a new value inside the module called updatingDB, setting it to false. At the top of update display, we'll set it to true, but before that, we'll wait until it's false using a while loop. At the end of the update display, we'll set it back to false. This will essentially make it so the client won't ever try updating the display twice at the same time, and one update will wait for the one that's currently running in the case that the server fires to update multiple times rapidly. As we can see, this still didn't quite fix our bugs from before, however. The reason we're having this bug is actually because of how we're JSON encoding the inventory before passing it to the client. Since our hotbar is essentially set up like an array, given that it has plain numbers as the indices, it starts to mess things up once we have some slots in the middle of that array that are nil, which messes up the JSON encoding. To fix this, we could either just return a table without JSON encoding it before sending it to the server, which I'll do later, but I didn't realize that until later this video, so instead we're just going to change the indices for the hotbar slots to be strings formatted like slot 1, as having strings for our keys will make JSON encode register the hotbar as a dictionary rather than an array. We'll update anywhere in inventory servers equipped to hotbar and unequipped from hotbar methods that indexes the hotbar with a number to instead index it with slot plus that number. We'll also use Ctrl+F to make sure we do it everywhere in the server module and don't miss any parts. We'll then head to the inventory client module and use the Ctrl+F tool as well to do the same thing, turning the number indices into strings by adding slot before them. Testing it, we get some errors, but that's partially because I renamed my getInventoryJSON function to getInventoryData off camera and forgot to update it everywhere that called getInventoryJSON. You can rename it too if you'd like, but just make sure to rename it everywhere and not miss anywhere in either the client or server modules. Just to slow down for a second, I wanted to apologize for jumping all over the place right now. My brain was jumping all over while recording this, and I'm trying my best to make it all make sense in the editing, but it's getting trickier with each episode. I'm trying my best to at least make sure I include all of the changes I make, even if some are redundant, but do know I'm not immune to errors, so feel free to ask questions about the things I changed in the comments. Back to the script. At this point, I also decided to remove the JSON encoding as well, so we'll head to the client module and remove the HS JSON decode from the update inventory data function. We'll then go into the inventory server module and remove the HS JSON encode from the return and simply return the adjusted in variable directly instead. After all those changes, we can see the hotbar items show up normally again, but when I try unequipping something, everything breaks all at once. For one thing, we forgot to remove the JSON decode from the portion of the start function that listens to the item's updated signal key, so we'll do that. That seems to have gotten rid of the error, but the unequipping doesn't actually do anything, which is the fault of another mistake I made in the server module. In the unequip from hotbar function, where I replaced the slot num with a string version earlier, I didn't actually need to, as slot num was actually already the string version, and I simply needed to leave the code as it was, but we'll also rename slot num to slot key just to be more accurate. Now we can see the unequipping works, and it even seems to have fixed the weird issue we had earlier with equipping to certain slots now that we're not using JSON encode. Again, I'm sorry this hotbar equipping stuff ended up being so complicated when it really didn't need to be. I'm constantly improving myself, and there are definitely more efficient ways that I could have done this that I wasn't aware of at the time, but at this point in the recording I was just stressed and happy to finally have it working. Either way though, I hope you enjoyed the video and make sure to like and subscribe if this series has been helpful to you thus far, and feel free to comment on this video or any other if you have questions or anything, or also to join my 9 Scripting Lessons Discord server for quicker response times. Additionally, I mentioned this in a recent community post, but my YouTube memberships are down thanks to some weird bugs with AdSense that I'm currently working through. But in the meantime, you can still gain access to the tutorial files for any of my recent tutorials, like this one, by subscribing to my 9 Scripting Lessons Discord server and becoming a Roblox Studio apprentice for just $2.99 a month. Though do note that some people seem to be seeing $3.99 a month instead, and I have no clue why that is. If you would like up to 2 hours a week of personal one-on-one tutoring in VC or DMs on top of the perks I mentioned earlier, then you can purchase the Roblox Studio Intern membership for $24.99 a month for that and more. Again, that and more is in the 9 Scripting Lessons Discord server. Either way though, thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time.